TV. It's Season 9, Meeting 8 of the Championship, and we are here for one of the feature race events, and it is the tremendous venue, the home of British motorsport, Silverstone. Drivers are out on track at the moment doing qualifying, but we are getting all set here for the broadcast and for the racing that's going to take place. Myself, Paul Smith, and Chaz Draycott bringing you all of the action. So we'll see the schedule up on screen momentarily, but you will see that we've had quite a long season so far. 8th meeting of the championship. Last week it was of course, one of the endurance rounds at Sebring, which was a tremendous race and the really fun race to watch. But this event here today at Silverstone, 2 40-minute races. The second race with an inverted grid, so that one will really mix things up out there on track. But it's not just today we're on about the championship, and hopefully we'll be able to bring you those championship standings up on screen, because it is in your pro drivers. Nicole Foggy, who leads this championship by 830 points. He is leading that one by 3 points. Oh, there's the championship, the schedule there up on screen. So as you see, Silverstone with Road America, the next meeting in the championship. Then Spa-Francorchamps, Daytona Road, and Circuit de Barcelona for the final round of this championship. But yeah, talking about the championship here, the pro standings, Nicole Foggy leads this championship by just 3 points. 823 points to 820 over Ross McFarlane. Matt Turnbull in third place, just 46 points behind the leader on 777 points. Then Michael Evdoka on 772, 51 points off your race championship leader. Matt Fletcher on 763 points, joint fifth with Ben Palmer, who's also on 763 points. Pete Harrod 745 ahead of Adam Watson on 704, and Chris Wood and Alex Nella round out your top 10 of your pro driver standings. Apologies for something is broken behind the scenes. We're trying to get that fixed for you. But Chaz, that Pro Championship, that Pro Drivers Championship, really close between, well, basically, the top 7 are the closest out there with 78 points covering them.
Yes, indeed, and it's been similar to that all season, really. I mean, we expected people to break away and maybe start to look like more of a championship contender than some of the guys around them, but it's just amazing that this championship once again has delivered such close competition. And the thing is, all it would take is theoretically one bad round from anybody up there, and it's gone. You know, it would just go completely downhill for them, and they'd have a real mountain to climb to get back up there. And it's the same in the Pro-Am as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So 53 points covering Tom Dadswell and Jake Blackall at the top of your standings. Then Mike Horder on 654 ahead of Chris van der Ness. Ben Gregory is pretty close. Well, he's 138 points off the leader, but don't count him out yet. Jeroen Kaiser 6th, but unfortunately he's not going to be taking part in the rest of the championship. Lee Berridge in 7th ahead of Lars van Rijn. Adam Hedgecock and Matt Woodhouse has moved into the bottom of your Pro-Am drivers standings there. And then next we will be giving you the AM drivers, and this one has been a really interesting championship battle as well. The top 6 covered by 72 points. Michael Blake ahead of Brian Lyons with Paul Webster in 3rd. Doyle, Hodgson and Archer then are 4th, 5th and 6th ahead of Stuart Noonan. Tom Stevens, John Roberts and Jason Rowe, getting the names mixed up there, at the bottom of your AM driver standings. But Chaz, the teams championship, this has still been ongoing, and the thing that I've noticed is RSR dropping down to 5th place in those standings. Yeah,
I think it's just the odd meeting that goes wrong for you can just have such a massive impact. Yes, they're only 3 points behind Pure Sims 3M, but Pure Sims OBP and Pure Sims Esports still very close together. And then I think it's now, to the end of the season, based on car numbers, I think it's just going to be a battle of best of the rest from Altitude Esports, Pure Sims 3M, and RSR Esports by G Performance. The guys behind, you know, they're still within fighting chance, but you've just got to think now that it has to come down to luck. You know, one of those teams has to have some pretty torrid luck for all 3 cars for it to get into the hands of any of the others, but it's still very, very close indeed. And I mean, it's, you know, it's always intriguing from each round to the next. Still 4 meetings to go, including this one, so anything could change, mate.
Absolutely. And of course, that's not the only teams championship we've got here. We've got the Pro-Am teams championship as well, and that is currently led by Boosted Motorsport, 1,608 points ahead of Simmortal in 2nd place. Century Sim Racing 3rd. Sim Stickers have moved up into 4th place after the endurance race last time out. They were the best performing Pro-Am team last time out at Sebring. Boosted Support Bubble and Boosted Sim Sports 5th and 6th, with Cudery Motorsports into 7th ahead of Performance Link Esports in 8th. Altitude Esports Blue dropped down a couple of positions to 9th place, and then Nomad Sim Racing rounding out your top 10 of the championship. But we've got about 2 minutes of qualifying remaining here, Chaz, and this has been a tremendous season. It's the 3rd time we've got these endurance feature race events here today. I mean, they've added something different to the championship that we didn't have in previous seasons.
Yeah, and it's certainly been exciting to watch. I mean, we had the very first ones at Interlagos, and we thoroughly enjoyed them. You know, having the pit stop in still a short race adds so much excitement. It's like the old sort of super touring format where they had the feature race really late in the afternoon. It'd be an almost, I think it's usually between half an hour and 40 minutes. It would include a pit stop, obviously a bit more necessary in front-wheel drive 350 brake touring cars, but even in these GT cars, you know, it's still incredibly exciting to watch, because you get some drivers that they'll pit early, they'll go for the undercut, try and get a bit of clear air, try and take advantage of the space around them. But then some drivers will do what you often see when you're near the front. They'll just make that stint last. You know, if you're in a rhythm and you're cracking on with it, you may as well stay out as long as you can, pit near the end, take a shorter pit stop because you don't need to take as much fuel, and just blast out the last couple of laps. But it's been intriguing to see how different strategies work, because you would think that there's only one or two ways to go with this, but people tend to adapt, don't they, as these races go on?
Yeah, you can see that tremendous shot of Silverstone with the wing there. I've actually stood up on the near the top of the by the podium there before, but looking there, you've got the old pit straight as well here at Silverstone. It's a circuit steeped in history as this venue, and it's certainly one that we absolutely love and adore, us Brits.
Yeah.
But, of course, they've given it themselves, but it is the monocle saying that it's the home of British motorsport. Qualifying's going to be wrapping up in a moment. We've just got the last few laps coming in. Ross McFarlane currently on pole position. Here's a surprise for you, Chaz. Jake Blackhall, Pro-Am,
yeah.
second place in your standings.
Epic stuff from Jake Blackhall at the moment there. That's really, really strong. I mean, we've got Matt Turnbull third as well, so another Lamborghini inside the top three, but that is really good from Jake Blackhall. Pro-Am, like you say. So he's in amongst the pros and really mixing it up there. Tom Dadswell is currently 7th. He's another Pro-Am as well, and Mike Horder just outside the top 10 in 12th place. So some really, really awesome performances. Matthew Doyle, highest placed AM. He's 11th overall at the moment. Yeah. So some of them have got some mega pace around here.
Now, track conditions will have come into that a little bit, only a little bit. It is a half-hour qualifying session. Each category, we've not really mentioned it before, but each category gets 10 minutes of qualifying each, and as the track temperature, because it started off in the morning, the track temperature just ramps up. But we are going to be all set for the start of this race, so let's give you your starting grid then, and it's Ross McFarlane on pole position ahead of Nicole Foggy. Jake Blackhall, so Foggy just got that time in. Jake Blackhall third ahead of Matthew Turnbull, with Matt Fletcher and Adam Watson on your third row. Row number 4 then for you is going to be Tom Dadswell, the Pro-Am, and Alex Neller. David Baker, Michael Evdoka with Matthew Doyle, your top AM driver in 11th ahead of Mike Horder in that 12th place. Row 6. Row 7, Jesse Jones and Sebastian Hawkins, with Chris Van Der Nest, Tom Stevens, Ben Gregory and Pete Harrod down to 18th place on the grid. Then further back, you've got Max Wolf, Brian Loyens, Morgan Butler, Matt Bunn, Chris Wood and Jonathan Walker to run out your top 12 rows of the grid.
We then have James Whitehouse and Chris Byron, with Lewis Archer alongside Adam Hedgecock. Paul Webster and Mark Woodhouse round out your top 30. Behind them are Lars Van Rijn and Lee Berridge, with Michael Blake and Jason Hodgson on row 17. Following them is Simon Field and Daniele Giudici on row 18 of the grid. And then they have the two stablemates, Jason Rowe and Liam Atkins, 37th and 38th. Josh Thompson will start 39th alongside Paulo Munoz, with Oscar Coper alongside Ash Sutton, 41st and 42nd. Ash's stablemate Andy Shield will line up 43rd, with Ross Nicholson in 44th place. Following them is then Stephen McCaffrey, Sean Gardner, Andrew Archer, not Angus Archer, Simon Neller, not Alex Neller, and Luke Hobson rounds out the grid in 49th place. So another great field, Paul, and this has been one of the real talking points this season. Is, you know, there was a bit of a discussion on a post I did on Facebook a while ago about retention and keeping drivers in all the way through the season. This league is really one of the best on iRacing at doing that. I mean, they've still got 49 drivers with a handful of meetings left. It's epic.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, but the drivers are pulling away. A lot of drivers on the naughty step, by the way, at the back of the grid. I counted at least 10 of them back there, so we're getting various penalties from them. But we're getting all set for the start of this race. Ross McFarlane is going to be the one leading you away for this one. Through the club corner, and he's going to get on the power nice and early. He's going before they get to the exit of club corner. Green flag is in the air, and we're all set for 40 minutes of racing in towards turn number 1 at Abbey. And look at that, it's Nicole Foggy assertive to the front of the field. Matt Turnbull in 3rd place then. In towards the right-hander. Will they able to get through there okay? Cold tyres at this time to contend with, don't forget. Out through the loop onto the Wellington Straight.
Oh, car
There's
round.
a spinner at the back, in the middle of the pack there. It's Alex Nella. Cars darting left and right to avoid it. Track is still clear, so we're going to stay green flag racing here.
Jesse Jones, one of the ones that lost out there as well. He's really dropped down. Same with Matthew Doyle, and unfortunately, Matthew Doyle qualified so well in the AM class, but he is really flying down the order now. Josh Thompson's having a few blinks in and out there with his connection, although actually Josh is, he keeps blinking in and out. He's 33rd. He just went all the way down to 40th place and then back up again. Ash Sutton, I think, had similar earlier on, but Nicole Foggy and Ross McFarlane, the two Scots have been fantastic this season already. Two different teams in the Pure Sims camp. Of course, Nicole Foggy racing for Pure Sims Pure Sims OBP. Ross McFarlane, Pure Sims Esports. This is the contact. Not enough room there from Jake Blackhall, I'm afraid. Alex Nella down the inside. Oh, and looked like
Seb
Doyle.
Hawkins.
Yeah, Doyle.
Seb Hawkins, great avoidance there. Doyle, yeah, he went flying off.
I think he got caught by somebody else as he tried to avoid it, I think someone preempted it. Doyle went right and then got clipped. But look at this. No, the gloves are off here at the front, Paul. At Pure Sims on Pure Sims once again with another one behind.
Oh, well, we've seen what's happened in the past between the two compatriots, the two teams, and it's all a bit of a squeeze there through the veil into club for the first time. And here comes Turnbull. They've got to be careful because they've got Adam Watson and Matt Fletcher actually making the move there in the Altitude Esports car. He's darting around behind Matt Turnbull in 3rd place. So this battle at the front of your field is ongoing. This isn't a 20-minute sprint race, chaps. This is a 40-minute race. You've got plenty of time to make moves. Dads, Evdoka and Blackhall are falling down the order on my timing screen. Don't say that 2 more Pure Sims outfits have had to come in together again in this championship.
Well, like you said before, we had seen it. Michael Blake's come to strife as well, and Andrew Archer. Ash Sutton, I think, has had an issue. He's also gone off. This is what happened with Evdoka. Oh, Jake gets the same treatment. By the look of it, squeezed to the apex. Evdoka spins one way, then the other. And oh no, there's a car. Oh wow, I think that was Dadswell across the road there in front of Seb Hawkins. Ash Sutton and the other car was Andrew Archer have both dropped down as well, I'm afraid. I think they maybe have made contact further back. But this is the thing with Silverstone, though, Paul. It's a circuit with a real high average speed. When you're going through a lot of these corners, a tiny bit of understeer, a tiny bit of dirty air can really ruin a lap. And it's so hard to judge sometimes around here. And I think a bit of close quarters racing, it's just... I didn't mean that pun, really, because Pure Sims used to be CQR, which is close quarters racing. But, a bit of close quarters racing is sometimes all it takes, the tiniest of touches, a little bit of misjudgment, and that's that. Here's the replay. So there's a car off in front, plenty of smoke, iRacing's new smoke model. Oh, and Ash just goes into the back of Jason Rowe, hits Michael Blake. Oh, and there's why Archer got hit as well, and Ash gets another, nope, just gets avoided, but... yeah, a little bit. I don't think Ash really expected Jason to slow down for that there, but either way, yellows are out. The boys are going to hit the brakes. But either way, Ross McFarlane still leading this, but it's not like they've run clear from anybody as Woodhouse is now dropping down, Paul.
Yeah, it's not a good day for the BMW, it seems, as Woodhouse is falling down the order. So it is McFarlane, Foggy, Turnbull. That's your front 3 that you're seeing in this lead trio. Behind them is another trio, Adam Watson. Matt Fletcher is looking exciting whenever we see him in the background. There you see him. He's just looking really exciting, darting around, trying to get past his fellow Audi driver of Adam Watson, who is a privateer this season. Further down in your order as well, we've got moves being made. This is Chris Wood for Team Mad. He's making moves. There's a Max Wolf there alongside in the Evo SR car. Lamborghini versus BMW. And again, the BMW drivers has been complaining that this I think it's the whole series doesn't really suit the car, if I'm honest, because each week they keep on complaining about the car. Oh, there goes Max Wolf off.
Well, Wolf is way off into the meadows there. He's absolutely gone, but that's the thing. Chris put him under a little bit of pressure by just looking down the inside on the way into the corner, and that's all it takes, and Chris is now back in front. So complain all you want about the pace of the BMW. It's certainly an intimidating car. I did want to point out as well, Paul, just behind Mark Fletcher in 6th place, for anybody that knows, it's got to be Dave Baker, of course. 3 places gained so far in this race, and Dave is in his customary 6th position. But there is Max Wolf. He goes, oh, actually, it looks like the car got out of shape, and then he saves it, and then doesn't save it, unfortunately. But rear wheel drive. Of course, it's rear wheel drive, Chaz. Rear-engined or mid-engined cars, you know, they have a lot of weight at the rear. Once they go, it is harder to save. They've got so much pointiness at the front end. They're so responsive at the front, or they should be, that they can just snap the other way. Pure Sims 1, 2, 3 at the moment. 3 different teams. Pure Sims Esports, Pure Sims OBP, and then Pure Sims 3M. Obviously, championship sponsor as well, 3M and Pure Sims. So, very representative right now, doing wonderful things. But then we've got the trio behind them as well. Adam Watson doing a wonderful job as ever. Mark Fletcher and David Baker following him. I think the highest Pro-Am now is Mike Horder, because Adam Watson is not Pro-Am, is he, this season? He's Pro.
No, it's Tom Dadswell who's the highest Pro-Am in 9th place.
Is he? I thought it was Horder.
Oh, it's Horder, yes. So, sorry, that's me misreading the timing screen on the left-hand side of the screen there. Yes, it's Mike Horder then, 7th place in that beautiful Lamborghini, that boosted car, looking very good indeed. Oh dear, now we've got 2, 3 wide going in to the right-hander here. And that is a very bare car, that is. That is the 321.
Paulo Munoz, is it not?
Paulo Munoz. Well, I don't know what's happened to his livery, but he is with one of the Pure Sims outfits, and he's working his way through it. Now, yeah, he did change his car. Yes, he did change his car midway through the season, so he's running around there, so obviously something's gone amiss. And here's Paul Webster, by the way. Paul Webster, who's been having a sterling season, his first season in the championship, isn't it? And he's been doing a good job.
Yeah, he had a really strong result at Bathurst earlier on in the season, and he obviously joined Team Mad at the halfway point, and he's been doing a cracking job since then as Paul. Very popular bloke as well. A really lovely guy, Paul is. So hope it continues for him. But yeah, you mentioned there the Paulo Munoz Mercedes. He's actually the biggest mover in the field. He's gained 16 positions from where he started to get up to 24th. Paulo is an absolute unit when it comes to racing and these sorts of things. He's so fast. But it almost looks like a sort of spare car privateer livery, doesn't it, the VRS machine? But either way, great to see. So's this. Adam Hedgecock side by side with the number 37 of Jesse Jones. And now Webster's going to come through. It looks to me like Hedgecock might have got slowed down or something there, but gold wheels, we don't care. Squeezes Paul to the apex, carries the speed on the exit. Nicely done.
That Ferrari has not been the favoured car, has it?
No.
Really not. I mean, Josh Thompson, he was... well, every week he was going on about it, really, with the the Ferrari, and that's why he changed car mid-season. Unfortunately, he has been having a lot of technical problems this year, and it has affected him again here today. So he's retired from this race. Turn 2 as Oscar Kerper, one of those RSR Esports by G Performance cars, as he is out of this one as well. Heading down the straight though, here's Pete Harrod, 11th place, behind Tom Stevens, your top am. I mean, sensational effort from Tom to be up into 10th place, gained 6 positions. Oh, I think Matt Bunn's just lived up to his name, he's dropped down the order. I think he might have had a spin or something happen out there. But yeah, Tom Stevens, what a performance for him in the Evo SR car. Looking to the inside though. Oh, Shy Pete to the inside and through he goes. And that is again a position up to 10th place now for Harrod. 11th place for Tom Stevens. Amazingly, only 2 places ahead of the next AM driver, which is Brian Lyons. We've got more action going on. Kuda, oh, speaking of Lyons, here he is. He's just been overtaken by one of the Freem cars. That is...
No, that's Bunny. That's Matt Bunn ahead of Byron.
Yes, Byron, yeah, so Bunn obviously has fallen down the order, as I said. He's lived up to his nickname, Matt Spun.
Yeah, he had a moment literally about 10-15 seconds ago by the look of it.
Oh, here we go.
Thank you, Tyler. Legendary stuff. Oh, well, there's that mid-engine slide I mentioned again, Paul. You know, it's like a pendulum effect. Oh, who was that in front of him? I think that might have been Jonathan Walker.
Yes.
Now, Jonathan Walker missed a 3M himself. Now, Matt and Jonathan actually had a bit of contact in practice as well, so I don't think that would have gone down very well if he would have hit him there, but nice avoidance by Jonathan either way. Here we are on board now.
Oh, there we go.
There's his
We've got
internet.
the pictures back. Oh, that is close, is that one?
I imagine it shaved some vinyl off the right-hand side at least.
Now,
Wow.
I've noticed on my timing screen, Matt Fletcher has gone up to 4th place now, ahead of Adam Watson. And here's Watson trying to fight back here. The two Audis with the Lamborghini loitering in the background. Baker, as much as he wants to move forward, he can't get out of 6th place. But Watson and Fletcher, these two, absolute tooth and nail, fighting this out into Luffield once again. This is brilliant stuff to watch here, and we've still got 29 minutes remaining in this race.
Yeah, only a quarter of the way through. It's fantastic to have. And again, this just highlights how good this format is. You know, having the races a little bit longer just gives these guys a different mentality. You know, you double the race length, but some of them still look at it as a sprint race because, you know, you're going to be flat out for the whole 40 minutes. But a lot of them see it as a chance to sort of relax, get into a rhythm, treat it as an endurance race because you do have the pit stop to think about. So sometimes you can keep that in the back of your mind and you don't have to get in front of the car ahead of you. You know, you could save a bit of fuel maybe. I mean, you've got the long straight here. That Hanger Straight, legendary piece of circuit.
Second place is a battle as well in front of these because they're going side by side through Stowe. Unbelievable. The Lamborghini staying there is Matt Turnbull and Nicole Foggy. They've dropped off of Ross McFarlane into the Vale then. And Club, that Lamborghini didn't look secure, but looking to get the cut back here. It's not quite happening for him now. But if these two fight too much here, Chaz, that'll allow, first of all, Ross McFarlane to pull away, but it'll allow Matt Fletcher to bring his gang of friends along with him. Yeah,
it will indeed, but that might mean that Dave Baker won't be 6th anymore, and I don't think the internet's ready for that. But no, in fairness, you're right. You know, the battling is all well and good because we get excited about it, but Ross McFarlane...
3 cars onto pit road already.
Oh, yeah.
So Jesse Jones, Adam Hedgecock, now Alex Sneller, Simon Field, they're deciding that now is the time to make their pit stop. There's a mandatory pit stop in this race here. It's a strategy coming to play early on in this one.
Yeah, they, like I said before, they'll want some clean air here. They don't need to get too much fuel to get to the end of this race, but they have to pit. So they'll have just... They probably won't have actually fueled light. They would have just filled it up because most of the drivers will, just to see how far they get, what they get stuck in, and, you know, how they end up on track. Track position is so key in a race like this. But, you know, they'll have just done their own thing early on and thought, right, let's get out of this. We've done enough now so we know that we can put enough fuel in to make it all the way to the end from this point. So they'll just bang a bit of fuel in it, if that's the verb for putting fuel in. But, oh, that was scary then. I thought he was going to move back over on him. That was Foggy and Turnbull once again. But some of the guys will just get out in clean air now, and they may thrive from that, or it may not work. We'll have to wait and see. But again, the strategy always makes these things exciting. So too is this, though. 2 5.2-litre V10 supercars, GT3 spec, one against the other. Very equal performance, and 2 fantastic drivers at Silverstone. It doesn't get much better than this, does it, Paul? I can't even get my words out.
Well, Matt Turnbull, one thing we've seen with Matt is that he's been very good at the start of races, especially in the longer races, but then he's just seemed to have maybe just fallen off with the strategy at times. I mean, I think back to Le Mans, of course, where he sort of helped Ross McFarlane along with the slipstream.
Yeah.
And then he just sort of dropped back in that last pit stop there in that endurance race. Well, this 40-minute race, hopefully he can keep this up and keep the pressure up because Nicole Foggy, former champion, of course, having to withhold and absorb so much pressure, and they're actually losing time to your race leader by about 0.4 of a second that last lap.
And thinking of the championship as well, the top 4 cars in the race are all in the top 5 in the championship. Foggy's the championship leader, ahead of McFarlane, of Doka, who's obviously a bit further down. He's not quite with them at the moment, but then you've got Turnbull and Fletcher, who are 4th and 5th in the championship as well. So This is definitely championship implications for these guys. Here's Brian Loynes, who's currently a second-placed AM driver. Tom Stevens, just in the black Lamborghini on the right there, is the highest-placed AM. But, of course, Brian Loynes has got the pressure of Chris van der Nest right behind him, the Pro-Am driver. Now, I'll always come back to Chris and his drive at Bathurst. He had the most unbelievable roller coaster of a drive at Bathurst earlier in the season. But it was still so exciting to watch. I'm really excited to see what this battle does, because obviously two different classes and very similar cars, but they're both on equal pace. You know, Brian Loynes has been a star this season, really, hasn't he? He's had the odd mistake, but in his class, he's been doing great.
He's been tremendous as Brian, of course. I coined the phrase "Flying Brian," of course, didn't I? For him, he's been really doing well. Think back to Le Mans; he had a tremendous time at Le Mans, did Brian. But yeah, going through Maggots and Beckett's, one of my favourite parts of this circuit is Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel onto the Hangar Straight. It's just the way it sweeps through and it tightens up on each time. It's a real technical part of the track. There goes Van der Nest to the inside. That's going to be a switch of places then. So Van der Nest up to 13th, ahead of Brian Loynes, who's now down to 14th. He won't give this one up without a fight, but at the same point, he doesn't really need to fight too hard in that one because it's not his battle.
Yeah, that's the thing. Again, with these longer races, I mean, we spoke last time out about the Enduro Cup. You know, it has its own separate competition to the overall championship. So in that respect, some of the drivers do pick their battles, and you don't see them all go for it all of the time, as we've got more cars in the pits, Matt Bunn and Lewis Archer. But in this case, when it does just count to the overall championship, there's nothing for just the feature races and your result per class. For anyone that doesn't know or that is new to watching this championship, the championship points are given for overall position in the race, not for your class position. So these guys are actually fighting for points right now amongst each other. We've obviously got the pro driver Chris Wood behind AM Brian Loynes, behind Pro-Am Chris van der Nest. So while you would think, well, why doesn't Loynes just let Chris Wood go? This is a fight that will implicate a difference in championship points. So he's in every right to fight it right now, and fair play to Brian for doing that. You know, it just shows that sometimes, I mean, I always do praise the admins of this series. They often do get the classes and the classification absolutely spot on. But we do get the odd hero, don't we, at certain tracks, Paul, that just rises above their other class. Absolutely,
and I mean, now that everything's sort of calmed down here, we're heading towards the halfway point of this first race. Of course, two racers looking ahead. Turnbull's looking to the inside, by the way, and he is showing a nose, and Foggy's had to leave the space there. He's going to have the inside line, is Foggy, for Vale. Onto the brakes. But if he can hold it on the outside there, and look at that, Turnbull's going to do it. He's going to get that inside line for Club, but Foggy can hold the power on. He's got to be careful not to go too far wide, or else you end up with a slowdown penalty. By the way, David Baker's made his way up into 5th place, I saw in the background of that shot. But Foggy's still hanging on to that position. But right now, that Lamborghini looks the faster car here. And Ross McFarlane has waltzed away at the front. 4.7 seconds he's got over these two drivers who are duking it out.
Yeah, awesome stuff, isn't it? Absolutely awesome. Great to watch. And this is the thing, again, none of these drivers are scared to get in a fight. You know, we always see this in this championship, and I mean, you and I have both experienced it as well, Paul. You know, nobody is scared to get involved and have a scrap. It's like touring car racing in GT3 cars a lot of the time, isn't it? You know, a lot of these guys are huge BTCC fans in this entire virtual paddock, but, you know, that racing shows through, and that desire shows through in what we get to now watch. You know, we've competed in it before, but I think we get the best seats in the house here and seeing the entire race and getting to commentate on it, share our excitement. And these guys never disappoint, not one little bit. Here is Michael Avdoka. Speaking of disappointing, you won't be too pleased at the moment with how his race is going. It's not the worst thing in the world, being in 17th, but he started 10th, and it's not often you see Avdoka go backwards from where he started.
Oh, now, Paul Webster is a long time in the pits, 38 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
That's now, has he not had his tyres switched off when it came to the pit stop, or is there something more untoward about that? I'll have a look at that. Meanwhile, there's there's the two on the screen. Evdoka's pulling away, and he's having to do a recovery drive here, and he's having to go on.
I did just have a quick look at Webster myself as well, and it doesn't look like the car was in the air on the jacks or anything, so maybe some damage and he's not had a fast repair ticked or something, but it looked like there was a little scuff on the door earlier, but nothing major, so I'm really not sure on that one, unfortunately. I hope he does get back out there and cracks on. We've had Andy Shield and Andrew Archer also in the pits for a long time, like you say. Ash Sutton is on his way in as well now, but this is Mike Horder in the number 42 machine. Flying as always.
Up 4 positions is Mike. He's doing a tremendous job out there. He's managed to get away from Seb Hawkins. In fact, Hawkins has dropped back off of Tom Dadswell in that one. So it was Dadswell and Hawkins. Well, it's now Mike Horder has split the two of them there. And yeah, brilliant stuff. Pete Harrod up 8 positions, not that far behind them either. There he is in the background. And he's been moving through the field. Steve McCaffrey at the moment is your biggest mover and shaker in the field, although that's whilst the pit stops are going on here. So yeah, we'll have to see how that shakes out. We're past the halfway point of the race though, and it is Ross McFarlane who leads this one ahead of this battle that we're seeing on the screen then. Nicole Foggy and Matt Turnbull, these two have been going at it 100% from the drop of the green flag. The top Pro-Am is Tom Dadswell ahead of Mike Horder. That's a battle for Pro-Am in 7th and 8th place. Ben Gregory 3rd place in the Pro-Ams. He's currently 11th overall in the race. Tom Stevens, your top amateur driver, in 12th place ahead of Brian Lyons, who's 14th overall. Here goes the look to the inside. Turnbull again. The definition of what was it? The definition of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
I think that's insanity, isn't it?
Insanity, yes, one of the two. Stupidity, insanity, it's the same thing.
Yeah, Matt, stop being stupid.
And Chris Byron, by the way, is your 3rd placed AM driver in 18th overall. So that's how things are standing at the moment. Your top 25 have yet to come on to pit road. So the driver with the cleanest of the air is Matthew Doyle in 26. Speaking of that, Chris Wood comes onto pit road.
Chris Wood hears that and goes, right, 10-4, hold my beer. Stephen, don't drink, drive. Stephen McCaffrey is the highest, well, the biggest mover in the field at the moment in the good old Merc. He is currently up 22 places into 23rd spot. It's crazy to think you've gained 22 spots, although Paolo Munoz now with Chris Wood in the pits has just equalled that. He's up to 18th place as well. It looks like Paul Webster sped in the pit lane, judging from what chat said. He was in there for 1 minute and 50 seconds, though. That's a very long time. I mean, 40 seconds is long enough, but that's ridiculously long, that. Well,
speeding in pit lane is usually a 15-second penalty.
I think if you do it badly enough, it can be 40 or even worse. I've had a 40 before, definitely. Okay. But I don't know what the criteria is for it. I think it may be relative. So, you know, if you've got a 30-mile-an-hour pit lane, you double that, then you get...
It's either you get 15 seconds for a small speeding or 40 seconds if it's vast.
Yeah.
And a Chris Wood, he's another one that's a slow pit stop here.
Yeah, he's nearly a minute already.
Don't say that he has got this as well. He's finally come out of his pit box, 52 seconds on the stall. Yeah, that's a 40-second penalty. Drivers getting caught out by this pit entry, and if you've not practiced it, you are going to get caught out because it is such a fast entry into the pit lane.
Mr. Uni in the chat saying apparently some repairs as well to Paul Webster's car, but you're right, Paul, it's a difficult entry. Turnbull goes in, but the line is very early on. And I'm pretty sure, no offence iRacing, that the line is not there in real life. I think it's just as you go round the corner. So I think if people have seen that before on any sort of real-world broadcast of anything going on, then they think, oh, I know where the entry line is. Because I'll admit, you know, it's not the first thing that everybody practices, is it, pit entry? You don't always see people doing it. So I'm intrigued as to whether it is genuinely just where the line is that's caught people out, or they're just pushing the boundaries. I mean, we know they like to do it, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. You know, at the end of the day, in any sort of competitive championship, you have to push those limits. And speaking of pushing the limits, here's Team Mad versus Boosted into Vale. This is car 83, which will be Mark Woodhouse, won't it? As they go through. Car 54 then is Lee Berridge. You see, I know my car numbers, honest. I wasn't looking at my timing sheet trying to cheat, but there you go. Lee Berridge then showing the back of the BMW. It's probably got the best view of the BMW as well there, for looking at it from the back. He is trying his best to get past Mark Woodhouse there. And it's become a running joke, hasn't it, for us? It's not the best looking car, is that BMW M4?
No. I actually commented on somebody's photo yesterday from the MotoGP, which has a BMW safety car, and said, I'm surprised Facebook let you actually post that picture and didn't censor it for profanity because there was the front of the BMW on it. Now, don't get me wrong, mechanically and engineering-wise, those cars are phenomenal. You know, BMW have been making unbelievable performance cars for years, but by God, they need to fire whoever designed the front of that car. It may be great, you know, it may be just function over form, as a lot of cars like this are, but oh God, it's only a face that a mother could put in the bin. But
speaking of faces that mothers could put in the bin, Craig sets up shop sponsoring that.
I thought you were going to say Morgan.
I'm joking, Craig. I'm joking. Morgan Butler's just been overtaken by one of his compatriots from the Freem car, which is Matt Turnbull, who's just pitted. Nicole Foggy's pitting, so he's pitting a lap later than Turnbull. Now, unfortunately, my timing screen isn't giving me a pit stop stall time for Matt Turnbull, so I'll have to. It's 44.8 seconds from cone to cone.
I've got 50 seconds for him. 10.3 in the pits, in the actual box.
Oh, we're getting a few pit stops now happening here. So Foggy, Tom Stevens, Chris Byram is onto pit road as well. This is where we're starting to see how those strategies pan out. There's the side-by-side, and look at the gap that Foggy is going to have over Turnbull.
2 seconds quicker in the box was Foggy, and it's exactly 2 seconds quicker in the entire pit lane as well. So he must have been fuel saving or something over the course of that fight, but I don't know how, because he was leading it for most of it. So it's not like he could sit in the slipstream of Matt Turnbull and just lift off where necessary, but Foggy taking 2 seconds less worth of fuel, that could just simply be the difference in the calculations though, Paul. We've seen it before, haven't we?
We've seen cars in this championship crawling across the line as well.
Yeah.
We've seen that a number of times, actually, in this series, with people getting pushed over the line. I think it was Interlagos, one of the teams went and pushed across.
Yeah,
it was one of the Boosted cars, wasn't it? So here's the battle then, on screen, down the inside. That's Michael Avdoka making the move on Jonathan Walker, and I think Walker would have maybe facilitated that move given his association with the championship and the admins, of which Michael Avdoka is one of those.
He is indeed. Good old Avdoka. He's one of the most aggressive Rocket League players I've ever seen, but always in. McFarlane is in. He's been pretty untouchable again though. I mean, remember last time, not only in the endurance races has McFarlane played this to his advantage, but he was fantastic at Interlagos in the feature races there as well. Ross this format just seems to suit Ross, you know. It's not too long that you need to worry too much about strategy, but it's long enough that you can get some of that advantage in if you are good at said strategies. As in comes Michael Avdoka in the 989 Audi. We get a lovely good look at it. You can see the car is not just white, it's got the pattern on it as well. Morgan Butler makes his way in as well. But this is Dave Baker.
Interesting to see. Tom Dadswell, Pete Harrod and Ben Gregory and Brian Lyons have not pitted yet. So they've been able to save fuel and go that little bit longer here in this race. Will that help them out towards the end? We'll have to wait and see. Paolo Munoz is another one who has not pitted here in this race yet. Matt Woodhouse is the only other one yet to pit down in 14th at the moment. So yes, Dadswell, the Pro-Am, currently leading by virtue of the pit stops, but Ross McFarlane is the driver who effectively leads this race. 3.6 seconds clear of Nicole Foggy. So that gap has been closed up a little bit through those pit stops, but McFarlane has just been absolutely untouchable at the front of that field.
Yeah, he's just done a wonderful job again. It's just, I mean, to be fair, even on Foggy's part, you know, this has just been true Foggy and McFarlane performances. They just get their heads down and they just crack the laps onto the board, and they're just really, really good at keeping the pace up. You know, they manage the tyres, they know exactly how to react to the car, how to adapt to what it's doing, how the track changes, how the temperature changes, all of it. They just take it in their stride. And McFarlane was actually 2 seconds slower in the pits than Foggy, so Foggy clearly taking less fuel than anyone else. The only other car that I can see that was less than 10 seconds in the box, there's actually 2 of them. Simon Field, 9.98, and Michael Evdoka, 9.07. Foggy was 8.5 seconds in there, so that's considerably less fuel than everybody else. But either way, he's got a lot to do. We've got lots of bright colours on screen right now, though. Mark Woodhouse ahead of Mike Horder and Sebastian Hawkins. Seb Hawkins, the pro, with Mike Horder and Mark Woodhouse, the 2 Pro-Ams. Now, there's going to be a double slipstream here, Paul. 3 different cars, but very different layouts from the very first BMW here to the Lamborghini and the Audi. But still, looks like Seb is the one that wants to make the move before Mike does.
I would expect Matt Woodhouse to head on to the right of the track and to head on to pit road. There he goes, because he is yet to pit, and he's going to be the final one to pit because we've got the rest of your drivers on to pit road. So Ross McFarlane is back to the top of your standings. Nicole Foggy 2nd place ahead of Matt Turnbull. Matt Fletcher in 4th place, and now the battle for 5th place is between Adam Watson and David Baker. And this battle that we're seeing on screen is now for 8th place, Mike Horder and Seb Hawkins, because they've gone past the drivers, 4 drivers on pit road at the moment. And Pete Harrod, long pit stop for him. Is he the latest one to get caught out by the pit lane speed limit?
Oh, I really hope it's not. Handsome Pete, bless him. It's easy to do, though. Like you said, Paul, they're all pushing it to the limit, and they're all trying to get the most out of the cars. Simon Neller has just had a bit of a whoopsie, but we need to keep our eyes on Mike Horder and Seb Hawkins, who is piling the pressure on at the moment, filling the rear-view mirror like a green screen. This Audi does look striking. It looked great on the Ferrari as well. The very, very bright razor green of Williams Esports. Oh, Horder back end out of shape a little bit there. Long slide. Hawkins gets a good run, bit of slipstream. He's going to go to the right. Horder doesn't do too much to defend it, and I think Hawkins is going to get this done down the inside. He is indeed. Horder, nice and respectful there. Hawkins gets it stopped on the apex, but what can Mike come back and do now through Maggots and Beckett's? It takes a brave old boy to do it through there, but I've seen it happen. But nothing doing here, and now Hawkins is probably going to get away.
Yeah, less of the references to old boys, Chaz. As we go through Maggots and Beckett's then, once again, Chappell, this left-hander, down the hanger straight. Now, Horder, well, he's not chasing the slipstream, so I think he's happy actually being here in 9th place. He's got a bit of a gap between him and Ben Gregory, 5.5 seconds, so he doesn't need to worry too much from behind. Lead, by the way, is down to 3.1 seconds, so Foggy's putting in some good laps. We jump forward, and this is the Adam Watson David Baker battle here, 5th, and Baker's back to 6th place here.
It's just, there's a magnet in that part of the field for Dave, and it's just like this, there's just this unseen force that just makes Dave 6th. If anybody doesn't know, we're not exaggerating when we say Dave Baker always finishes 6th. Honestly, I've not seen many broadcasts where he doesn't. Look at that from Adam Watson there. Hello, bucking Bronco over the massive, massive sausage curb that you have just after Vale there through the right-hander of Club. That's a scary moment, that, because the thing is, these cars, they do get unsettled very easily by that. Even on a curb like this here that they're going around now at Luffield, that's enough to just let a bit of traction loose on the inside tyre, over-rotate the left rear, and it'll go around easy, won't it?
I think our director is forgetting my note saying we don't need anything fancy for this broadcast. As we go into Cop's Corner, once again, Baker and Watson absolutely neck and neck there. And, well, I mean, Adam, I can tell you from painful experience, you do not want to hit that curve. I am amazed that David Baker did not actually make it past. And look at that Baker through Maggots and Beckett's, getting the understeer, the dirty air from the car in front. I mean, it shows just how, you know, even though these cars, they don't have the most aerodynamic grip, that would be a GTE car for a GT car, but still, they're massively affected by that aero wash, the dirty air as it's called, coming off the car in front. We've got 5.5 minutes remaining here, Chaz. Where has this time flown?
These races are always exciting now. I absolutely love this format. I really, really do. The World GT Championship has stepped it up a notch, not only in bringing this format in, but also the Enduro Cup, which gives drivers more to think about. This is Brian Loynes and Paul Webster just behind him, but that is, of course, not for position. Webster is a lap down, unfortunately. But just behind Webster, we have got Jesse Jones in the number 37 RSR Mercedes, which sounds like blasphemy in itself, but Brian Loynes, he'll know that, he'll see that in the mirror if he can see past the absolute housing estate that is the BMW's front end. But to be fair, you wouldn't want to look at it anyway, you'd be looking around it, wouldn't you? He knows, he'll know on the relative, of course. For anyone that doesn't know, the relative is a wonderful little black box you can have in the bottom right of your screen on iRacing. Tells you how far cars are away to the nearest tenth of a second, and he'll now see that Jesse Jones is in front of the BMW and starting to chase him down. And of course that Mercedes, a very aggressive looking car anyway. The RSR Esports by G Performance livery looking fantastic as well. I actually saw that livery on a NASCAR truck over the weekend, and I tell you, it looked amazing. It really does suit the truck as well, with all the flowing lines down the side of it. But that Mercedes suits it just as well. And I think Brian Loynes, it's not going to be on his priority list right now, but Jesse Jones, I mean, won the very first race of the season, let's not forget, Paul, but not quite on it today.
Yeah, it's just not quite worked out for the RSR by G Performance team on the whole. I mean, we had Oscar Copa drop out of this race very early on in this one. You've got, where's, I'm going to say, we've got Copa.
Ostfold is usually the other driver, isn't
he?
Ostfold is
the other driver, but he's not here today, is he?
No.
So they are down a driver here today. But look at this battle then. It's still Foggy and Matt Turnbull using the default iRacing number of 64. So he goes through the right-hander at Club. Don't run too far wide. You'll get a slow-down penalty if you go completely off track there. And it will cost you some time. So this battle, it's back again. 3 minutes, 9 seconds. We've got 2 laps remaining in this race.
It's crazy, like you say, how quickly that has gone by. We got 10 minutes down and it felt like we'd had an entire race already. But then since that moment, there's been just over, well, just under half an hour, and it's just, it's gone. With all the calculations, the pit stops and everything else, it's just been awesome to watch. Really awesome again. Now this is Dave Baker, who's not too keen on watching the back of Adam Watson's Audi. 66 versus 99. Let's hope this doesn't end up how the immature people in the chat would think. But Watson holds the position there, but Baker tries to get some sort of cutback as they go into Luffield. Nothing doing there. He's going to focus on getting a run out, but as you say, though, Paul, that Lambo just looks a little bit understeery, doesn't it, on the way in, especially in the middle of the corner, and he just can't get the power down on the exit.
Adam Watson appearing to be powered by the cracked coffee that he's got sponsoring on the side of his car there, and he's doing a good job. He's really fired up for this round, and the Audi, it looked a little wiggle on the exit of Copse Corner, through Maggots into Beckett's. It's amazing how much speed you can carry through the first part of Beckett's. Slow it on down here. I remember, I am showing my age now, I remember when that was just, it was the left at Maggots, then onto a really hard braking spot into the right-hander. It was a 90-degree right-hander at Beckett's, and then on the power again through Chapel down the Hanger Straight. So it really has changed. It changed back in 1991, I do believe it was, and they did a sterling job. It's one of the best pieces of circuit design out there. So good that Circuit of the Americas copied it. Now, only 1 lap remaining here, and it is Foggy determined to hang on to second place ahead of Matt Turnbull, because Ross McFarlane is once again waltzing away at the front of your field. 4.8 seconds. That's not even Ross that you saw in the bottom of your picture. There goes Turnbull looking to the inside. There's no move happening there between the two of them. Really, his best opportunity now is down the Hanger Straight. Yeah,
it's the easiest place to do it, but the thing is, you've got to make it stick at the other end as well. And, I mean, we all know how easy it is to just get that overspeed and then not think about the braking. I was actually watching something from the wonderful MotoGP started again on the weekend. Now, one of the Ducatis hit 224 miles an hour down the straight at Qatar, broke at his normal place, and as you can imagine, he ended up in the gravel very much going straight on. But we'll hope that Matt Turnbull doesn't do that. He's not quite going to hit 224 miles an hour behind the Audi of Nickel Foggy, but still a great scrap to have on the final lap. Look at Nickel staying all the way over to the left, opening up Copse. Such a difficult corner to get right lap after lap. So much astro and curb out there, especially now that there isn't a gravel trap anymore. Used to be a humongous gravel trap out there that didn't do a hell of a lot about stopping the Simone Alfa Romeo many, many years ago in the British Touring Car Championship. But we've got this battle on the right, which is second and third, and then fifth and sixth on the left-hand side of your screen. But ahead of all of this, though, Paul, it looks like McFarlane is going to take another well-deserved feature race win.
Yeah, that battle for second place, really going for it. Turnbull again going to the outside. He can carry the speed around there, but it's too wide. He's not been able to do it. Foggy's trying to squeeze him. He's got a nose in there. He's going to give it a go. But to the front of your field, because out the final corner comes Ross McFarlane to win the race. What's going to happen between these two? It's absolutely neck and neck across the line. It's almost a dead heat. Who has got it? I believe it's Turnbull who's got the second place there. Magnificent stuff there. Brilliant. Absolutely sensational. Tom Dadswell, by the way, your top Pro-Am in the standings here in 7th place. Your top Am is Tom Stevens, who's currently 12th place, just ahead of Chris van der Ness. So Tom Stevens, number 89 in the Evo SR car, just in front of that one that we're looking at in the Lamborghini. He's delighted. He's won the Am category race here in this one. Sensational stuff, Chaz, and absolutely neck and neck all the way through the field. There's still battles going on, I believe. This is Ross Nicholson, Adam Hedgecock. No, it's not. Matt Woodhouse, is it involved in there? I don't know. I can't tell.
I think it's Chris Wood, 87.
Oh, it's Chris Wood, yeah. Yeah, it's Giudici, Gardner and Wood. Well, this one could end up in tears.
It certainly
Hopefully
could.
not.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Got three very different cars once again. Chris Wood right to the back of Sean Gardner. Can't quite get close enough, though. By the look of it, it's so difficult to get something done out of there if you don't already get it done into the left. And, of course, Gardner there going to cross the line and finish in 32nd place. 14 spots gained, though. Still a great drive. And, oh, actually, hang on. Hello?
What?
Oh, Lewis Hamilton just rang and asked if that was off the circuit there by Matt Turnbull around the outside. Sorry, it was on his straight, so you know he's saying respect the track limits on the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight. But no, in fairness though, what a wonderful battle we had at the end there. That was epic stuff. And I mean, one thing I didn't notice in a bit of a theme was it was two Pure Sims 3M Lamborghinis chasing a blue Audi in front of them, or at least relatively blue in Nickel Foggy's case. But there you go, Turnbull gets it, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ross McFarlane, then your winner by 5.8 seconds ahead of Matthew Turnbull in second place. Nicole Foggy rounding out in third place. He hung on for so long in that race, but ends up in third place. Matt Fletcher fourth ahead of Adam Watson and the ever-battling David Baker, who finishes in sixth place. Tom Dadswell, your top-performing Pro-Am driver in 7th place, ahead of Seb Hawkins in 8th. Mike Horder, your second-place Pro-Am in 9th. And Michael Evdoka rounding out your top 10. 11th place for Ben Gregory, 3rd place in Pro-Am. Really good result for him with Tom Stevens, your top Am driver in 12th place. Really good result for the Evo SR driver. Chris van der Ness ahead of Jesse Jones with Jonathan Walker, the second-placed Am driver, the 3M sponsor. Thank you very much for that. Paolo Munoz and Brian Loyens rounding out your Am podium in 17th. Matt Bunn and Jake Blackall 18th and 19th ahead of Chris Byram. Great Blackall, a bit of a recovery from him. Ross Nicholson in 21st ahead of Adam Hedgecock. Max Wolf and Matt Woodhouse finishing off 24th. Lewis Archer, Lee Berridge ahead of Steve McAfee. Pete Harrod, look at that. That's what happens when you get a speeding penalty. Down to 28th ahead of Matt Doyle and Simon Field in 30th place. Big field here for you, so let's go through. And it's going to be Giannucci then in 31st ahead of Sean Gardner. Chris Wood and Lars Van Rijn ahead of Alex Nella. Jason Rowe, Liam Atkins, James Whitehouse, Michael Blake and Morgan Butler. Again, another victim down there in 40th place. 41st for Jason Hodgson. Here's two drivers who are actually eligible for the reverse grid, Simon Nella and Paul Webster, because they finished one lap down. Rest did not finish, so Ashley Sutton, Andy Shield, Andy Archer, Josh Thompson and Oscar Cooper, I don't even believe, made it one lap there. No, he did make it one lap. Out 19 laps down. Fastest lap by Matt Turnbull in that one. So let us have a look then. Let's get it out the way and have a look at the spinning wheel. We've got the chance to set the grid for race number 2. And let's have a look, see what it comes up with here then, Chaz.
Yes, indeed. We've had some very interesting reverse grids before. We're going to get, turn your monitors upside down, 24th place, which will put Mark Woodhouse on pole position. And interestingly enough, Max Wolf will be alongside him, followed by Adam Hedgecock and Ross Nicholson, who will be really pleased because he gained 23 spots in that first race to get up to 21st, and it's all paid off for him because he's ended up with a decent grid position for the second one. That's the best thing to have as well, because when you've worked hard to get to that point, it's just so rewarding and so pleasing to then think, right, now I'm going to get boosted, pardon the pun, even further up the order to the front of the grid for the second one. And yes, we have seen drivers obviously before drop down over the course of these races when some of the quicker drivers come through, but we've seen some fantastic drives, haven't we, Paul, where people stay up near the front and get some really good points from it all.
Certainly can, and yeah, I mean, I'll go back to last season when we kept on getting Chris Byram pole position for the
it was the first two, wasn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, ended up if get the glasses off there, yeah, ended up in pole position for races 2 and 3 last season. Yeah, Silverstone. So that was always a fun one, but what a tremendous race. And it was interesting how Turnbull and Foggy, they just would not leave each other apart. even after Foggy had been able to gain 2 seconds in the pit stops.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. You know, I spoke to Matt Bunn. I actually, it was quite funny. I've mentioned Rocket League a lot tonight, but I was playing Rocket League with him a few weeks ago, and I jokingly sort of said, I've got a good question for you, actually, Matt, and a serious one. And he was like, yeah, go ahead. I was like, why do pure sims always crash into each other? And I just thought, you know, do it as a laugh. But he just said, well, to be fair, you know, they're allowed to race each other. They may be in the same stable, but they're obviously split into their respective teams, and they're all going against each other. It's fun competition for them, because as you can imagine, when you're a driver and you've got 12 cars on the grid that are from the same team, theoretically, albeit split into 4 teams of 3, with the amount of cars that you're going to see from that stable on track, if you have to say, oh, you know, I won't race you, go through and all that, for every single one of them, or the other guy says, oh, can you let me through, you know, I'm quicker at the minute and you're going to get in the way of my strategy or something like that, that does take the fun out of it. And it's healthy competition for these guys because it keeps them sharp on a weekly basis and it keeps them racing. And, you know, they all have their wins and their losses, and I think it makes it all the more entertaining for everybody. So as much as I do take the mick, Matt, honestly, thank you for having your drive. Much like Mercedes in 2014, thank you for having your races race against each other, because it makes it all the more entertaining.
Yeah, certainly, as we're just keeping an eye on when the next race goes up. Of course, 2 races today, as always, in the feature race ones, and it's certainly been an interesting first race. Now, the dynamic is those drivers who finished at the front in race 1, they've got to work their way through. It's not the biggest of reverse grids, but it's still it's doable here.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in Interlagos when they first introduced this. I mean, we've been used to reverse grids before in this championship, and let's not beat around the bush. They do cause a bit of chaos. You know, some of the faster drivers coming through, maybe not accounting for when someone's going to break a bit early or where they're going to turn into an apex. Some of the sort of lesser experienced drivers get put to the front. There's a lot of pressure going on there, and when some of the drivers further back that are used to like world championship level stuff, you know, they're not ready for that difference in pace sometimes, or they're not patient enough for it. And I think that these feature races, with them being a bit longer, it sort of dials out that urgency from some of the drivers that are coming through, you know. So they don't have 20 minutes to do it, they have 40. They can treat it like a semi-endurance race still. They've got pit strategy to think about, which they can definitely improve their position on. but at the same time, they've got longer to get through, so they're not pushing it every opportunity to get past somebody. So I think it's a good middle ground having these 40-minute races like this.
And also, it's worth pointing out that a lot of these drivers haven't had as much practice as they normally would, because of course this weekend it was the 12 hours of Sebring by iRacing,
yes,
powered by VCO. So a lot of those teams that are competing here today, I know Pure Sims had quite a few cars out, Team Mad had a few cars out, amongst others as well. I think Boosted will have had a couple of cars out. They've been focused on that event. They're coming into this one relatively quickly, without much practice. It shows that adaptability to then be able to go fast here in this race.
Yeah, I think that a lot of these drivers do, not to sort of disrespect them, they need the practice. You know, you have to get dialed in. And the one thing that iRacing, if there was anything I had to drill into somebody's head about iRacing, other than take it seriously, it is practice. Don't just jump in a race and think you're going to do well, because it is so tough on iRacing. And in a league like this, when you know the drivers that you're racing week in, week out, and you know how quick they are as well, you want to be in the level where you normally are. You know, you and I both always found that we'd be around the same people on track all the time, no matter what series we were in as well, which was always good. But in this, they sort of see that level and think, right, I need to be quick enough to get to this guy, so I'm going to ask this guy what lap time is he doing. And, you know, some of them have the ability to jump in and just do it, and I don't have a clue how. But a lot of them do need the practice to get to that point, and it does show when you get these special events in the middle, unfortunately. But, again, from our side, as broadcasters and commentators, it makes it more entertaining and it's a bit more unexpected.
Right, well, we are going to just step aside for just a couple of minutes' time, but make sure you stay tuned because race 2 is coming up right after these. Welcome back to coverage of Meeting 8 of Season 9 of the World GT Championship, brought to you by Freem here on RaceSpotTV. My name is Paul Smith, and joining me on commentary is Chaz Draycott. And Chaz, after race 1 of this feature race meeting, oh, we've got to do it all again, but this time with the top 24 reversed.
Yeah, it's just, it adds even more spice to this wonderful race meeting, mate. I am absolutely sweating buckets after that first one. It was so exciting. Those last few moments as well. I mean, how you've been streaming for nearly 24 hours total in the last few days and didn't lose your voice over that last moment, then I don't know, because that was just amazing by Matt Turnbull. And, of course, Nickel Foggy. Great respect between the two of them. You know, Foggy gave him the room. He didn't run him out wide too much. You know, he could have squeezed him. There was a bit of a sketchy moment on the way in where it nearly happened. But it was so much fun to watch that. And I'm sure we're going to get some of the same again. But this time, it's going to be when the guys are coming through the field. So they may have a slower car in front of them while all this is going on and holding them up. So you never know what could happen.
Yeah, well, speaking of never knowing what's going to happen, let's have a look at where we start. Oh, we're starting on the hanger straight. That's good. That means it's not a standing start, which means I've got time to go through the grid. So it is Matt Woodhouse then on pole position of this race, ahead of Max Wolf in second place. Adam Hedgecock and Ross Nicholson with Chris Byram and Jake Blackhall rounding out row number 3. Row number 4 is going to be Matt Bunn and Brian Lyons with Paulo Munoz and Jonathan Walker. Jesse Jones and Chris Van Der Ness is row number 6. Row number 7 is going to be Tom Stevens and Ben Gregory with Michael Evdoka, Mike Horder, Seb Hawkins and Tom Dadswell rounding out in 18th place. 19th for David Baker with Adam Watson, 20th, 21st for Mark Fletcher and Nicole Foggy, 23rd for Matt Turnbull, and Ross McFarlane, your race winner from race 1, in 24th.
We then have Lewis Archer and Lee Berridge, 25th and 26th, ahead of Stephen McCaffrey and Pete Harrod. Matthew Doyle and Simon Field round out your 30. Then we have Daniele Giudici, Sean Gardner, Chris Wood and Lars van Rijn, ahead of Alex Neller and Jason Rowe on the 18th row of the grid. Then it's Liam Atkins and James Whitehouse with Michael Blake, Morgan Butler, Jason Hodgson and Simon Neller. Paul Webster, Ash Sutton, Andy Archer and Josh Thompson round out your grid, Paul, as we're about to get underway.
Yeah, we certainly are. Drivers getting set. So this is Matt Woodhouse, the BMW for Team Mad, heading your field. He's not going early. He's waiting through the Exeter Club. Now he should go. The green flag is in the air and away we go for 40 more minutes of action here in the World GT Championship. Heading down towards the first corner at Abbey. They're going 3 wide further back. I think we've had an instant further back in your field as well. But we're still going on here into the first chicane. There's a car off. It's one of the Craig Setup Shop cars. It's Jake Blackhall into the wall there. He's missing his front bonnet. Oh my goodness, and there's another car around. That's one of the Cuda cars. That's Chris Byram. He's had a spin as well. Well, it's absolute carnage on lap 1 here at Silverstone. Even more carnage. Mark Fletcher, I can tell you, has had a big incident out of the loop onto the Wellington Straight. And amazingly, everyone is avoiding him.
Yeah, Lee Berridge has gone off as well in that somewhere. I've just seen him flying down the order. I took a quick look back to see what happened on the green flag lap. It seemed like there was a massive gap between some of the guys going into the final corner and those that had gone across the line. Ash Sutton got caught up in it, went into the back of the car in front. Thompson slammed on, then he got collected as well. We also had, I think it was Liam Atkins that was off the track on the straight. There was a number of cars off there, but very importantly, Nickel Foggy through Stowe was completely around and facing the wrong way on the grass. I really don't know what happened there, but it's been very, very messy for some of these guys further back, and there will be words had about that. We all know how frustrating that can be to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Woodhouse, Nicholson, that's Ross Nicholson, Max Wolf, Adam Hedgecock and Matt Bunn are your top 5. Then there's a little bit of a gap between them and Jesse Jones, the RSR Esports by G Performance driver, doing well in 6th place. Jonathan Walker 7th ahead of Brian Lyons. Paulo Munoz and Michael Evdoka looking for a better race this time around. Adam Watson moving up to 11th place now, gained 9 positions in this race. Here's a replay of what happened to Jake Blackhall, and it was just cold tyres side by side through that high-speed chicane at the start of the lap. So easily done there.
I think he might have had a little bit of a squeeze, you know, from the car next to him, because we saw it last time round. You know, Jake did it to someone, and someone did it to Jake, and he's had the same again, unfortunately, by the look of it. But either way, like you say, Paul, even if there wasn't contact, it is so easy to lose a car around there. An absolute nightmare, in fact. We did have... Oh, Ben Gregory's just dropped.
Further back, and it's Jake Blackhall again, and it's Ben Gregory who have dropped down the timing sheet. Ash Sutton also again dropping down the timing sheet. There's a car firing off in the background there. That was Michael Evdoka on the exit of the loop there onto the Wellington Straight. Well, nobody wants to finish this race here today.
Not at all. It's just absolute madness. Gregory. Oh, that was poor from Ben. He knows that as well, though. Very, very late on the brakes, unfortunately. Absolutely wipes Jake out. I can tell you what Jake said, but it's not broadcastable. But it just seems a little bit messy from some of these guys. Just impatience. And I mean, I said before that, you know, they have the pace to be able to go and do it, but it's just, they've got the time as well. That's the main thing, but they're not acting like it. This is what happened to Evdoka. Oh, he's lit up the rears on the grass, unfortunately. Maybe he just thought it was Astro and he could get away with it, but breaks away from him when he doesn't expect it. And we still have quite the train, don't we, at the front? He
thought he could do a Kimi Raikkonen and keep his foot in there, because that's what happened to Kimi Raikkonen when he fired off into the barrier. Don't forget that, because we had about an hour's break for barrier repairs. But no barrier repairs here on iRacing. We are staying, and it's Adam Watson, the man on the move here. He's gone ahead of Paulo Munoz. 11 places gained so far for Adam. He is on a charge right now, and the Mercedes of Paulo Munoz really can't compete with that. As Seb Hawkins as well, he's trying to work his way through. We've got cars running wide out of Club Corner into Abbey for, once again, 35.5 minutes left here. But you would think that this was a 5-minute sprint to the end. Seb Hawkins amazingly holds on to that. How?
Oh, it's because grass is green, and it's definitely greener on the Audi side. Flipping heck. That was unbelievable. I could have sworn he was inside the engine bay of that Lamborghini then. Maybe it's just immune to itself because it's another 5.2 litre V10, but oh my life, that was so close. Here we go again, look, on the grass, little correction, gets it stopped somehow. You can see him changing down the gears. I think Horder maybe flicked left slightly. That was good stuff from the pair of them there.
That is great driving. Yeah, great awareness from Horder to see a car on the grass and recognise that could be an issue. I'll give it some space so that then if he does end up crashing into anyone, it's the other car in front of me and I can watch them sail by me. But fortunately that didn't happen. We're going to go 3 wide our way into Maggots. It's not quite, but it's 2 wide. Adam Watson to the outside of Maggots into Beckett. Lovely. Well, I said he's on a charge. That's past Hedgecock in the Ferrari for Boosted. And now Watson has got his sights set on the Sim Stickers car of Brian Lyons in front of him. And that Audi is certainly going places, that's for sure. Further forward in your field, though, Matt Bunn finds himself in 3rd place. I think we've found who's off on a bank holiday trek, and that's Mark Woodhouse at the front of the field, although Ross Nicholson is having a look down the inside. It's not happening yet. And Bunn gets turned there. I mean, credit to Bunn to try and get out of the way. I mean, he managed to damage the rear end of his car there, but he got out the way. That's the main thing. Look at this, though. Ross Nicholson to the inside. 2 Pro-Ams battling it out. Woodhouse, look at him carry the speed around the outside there. Sensational stuff onto the brakes. And around the outside, who is that? That's Max Wolf, the amateur driver. He's going for the win here.
Yeah, wolf in sheep's clothing, you could say right now, Max is, but he's doing a wonderful job. Let's face it, that Lamborghini is no sheep's clothing, is it? But, yeah, Ross, well, definitely Sim stick it down the inside, didn't he? Absolutely awesome stuff on Woodhouse. Real shame for Matt Bunn. I just don't think that he realised that Jesse Jones had the overlap that quickly. Went for the apex of the corner still, and the contact turned him around. Jesse had no option other than to go with him. Here's Watson and Baker. That's very close indeed on the back of Chris van der Ness. Following Paulo Munoz, Baker goes wide. Who's that down the inside? Is that Dadswell? Tom Dadswell.
Watson, yeah, he's
He's dropped actually,
down.
hasn't he?
Yeah, he's dropped from 6th place, so something's happened to Adam. To the inside, Max Wolf, newcomer to the series. He's trying it, and we've seen that he's a racy driver, is Max. I really like the look of him, the way that he drives and really gets stuck in there. It's great to see the Lamborghini driver, but that did compromise him on the exit there of Copse Corner, and that's allowed Matt Woodhouse just to get that tiny gap. That BMW does not look comfortable around here at Silverstone.
No, it doesn't, and to be fair, Michael Blake's reports from earlier on in the evening are correct. He told me that the car wasn't very good, but in different words. But yeah, Mark Woodhouse is certainly showing that it is good at the minute. You know, he's able to hold these guys off. I mean, I've seen Mark Woodhouse race in a number of series now, and I've raced with him. He's fantastic, really fantastic to go up against. He's such a fair racer as well, but he is a really, really good defender. He's very, very good at it, to be fair. And well, in all honesty, he's got the pace to back it up now. You know, I never used to think that, no offence to Mark, but I never used to think he was fast enough to then hold on to something like this. But he's proving me wrong here. He really is.
Well, the problem is he's got 4 cars behind him, all hounding him as Mark. Meanwhile, look at this, car 13, that's Adam Hedgecock then. He's got Paulo Munoz in front. You've got Adam Watson who's trying to make his way past again, trying to open the door. Well, he kicked the door open there, I think is the phrase that I would use. He made sure he got in there. And Van der Ness, though, not an easy driver to overtake, as we saw earlier in the season. On the power earlier with that wider line, so he was able to carry the speed down into Brooklands, and that is going to be Watson ahead of Van der Ness. And Baker, who was battling with Watson towards the end of that first race, is now under pressure from Ross McFarlane. McFarlane moving forward. 14 places gained for Ross in this race so far.
Yeah, some people really flying at the order. Simon Field has gained 15. He's on a good charge. Ash Sutton has gained 14. Thompson 14. Morgan Butler 11 as well. So this is what these reverse grid races are all about. They certainly do fly, some of these drivers. They just shine in different conditions, you know, when it's a different race scenario. But Woodhouse is shining at the moment. Wolf in second place. But Ross Nicholson starting to look a bit feisty behind them. Jonathan Walker as well. Championship sponsor wants a piece of the action at the front. Here is McFarlane on the back of Chris Van der Ness. Now, slightly, no overlap for him there. He's going to go later on the brakes, though, surely. Down the inside he goes. And the Performance Link Esports driver not getting in the way there, not hindering too much. Now, Dave Baker wants to go as well. He says, OK, I've seen you make it easy for him. Now do the same for me, please. But Dr. Baker not getting the same treatment, it seems, from Van der Ness. But either way, good fighting through the field from them. Simon Field in the pits already, Paul. Yeah. He gained a number of positions before that. But now, Alex Neller, Matt Doyle, Nickel Foggy in as well. Foggy had issues very, very early on in the race, before it even started. He is now thinking, right, let's get the fuel in. Same with Evdoka. They're just thinking, stuff it, get the fuel in and crack on to the end. Yeah, that's it. Just get it out the way, get the pin now, and then sort it out towards the end. Get yourself some clean air and really go for it. Now, here is a Wolf in Lamborghini colours, and he is going to the inside. Into Brooklands. Woodhouse holding the outside line, but he's got to be careful not to run too far wide, which he's done. He's got the inside for Luffield, but look at Wolf. He's going to try and carry the speed. He's going to get on the power earlier, which will carry him all the way through Woodcote here. Side by side, neck and neck. This is Pro-Am versus Am. Woodhouse, the Pro-Am. Am for Max Wolf. Through Copse Corner. How can they do it? They're still there together, the two of them. As there's a car going off in the background, that's Jonathan Walker. He's gone off into the gravel at Copse Corner, and Max Wolf to the lead of this race then in the Lamborghini. The Evo SR driver finds himself at the head of your field. Smashing stuff by Max Wolf. He's been a real star since joining this championship, and he is now at the very head of the pack. Ross Nicholson all over the back of Mark Woodhouse. Needs to be careful not to make contact. It's easy to dig the front end of the Lamborghini and the Audi under the car in front, especially when it's 19 feet tall like the BMW with that massive, massive diffuser on the back of it. But look at that again. Woodhouse carries the speed around the outside. Expect a switch back from Nicholson. No, he doesn't try such a thing. He wants the outside for the first part, then the inside for the second. Thank you very much, Mark Woodhouse. I will go through. Doesn't negate the overlap completely. Yes, he does by the right-hander, but now Woodhouse is going to have the better run out of there. We've got more cars coming in the pit, but look who's behind Woodhouse now. Brian Loynes, the other SimStickers Audi in this race. He's going to try and help his teammate, but then Paolo Munoz in there as well. Here is Jonathan Walker going off. Oh, it's easy.
Well, the back end slid, he corrected, and it just overcorrected, and he ends up in the gravel. That's a long way, is that, by the way? That is a huge runoff at Copse Corner. I can tell you that from being stood on the outside of Copse, having to get the binoculars out to see the cars. It's that far away. But as they go through onto the Wellington Straight, of course, named after the World War II bombers that used to fly from Silverstone, and they are going to head into Brooklands now. We're almost at the halfway point of the race. Number of drivers being on pit road. So Adam Watson is one of those that I'm keen to see how he's done. 10.7 seconds on the box. So that is him out and away. So that means that he is now approximately half a minute off of Max Wolf. Well, it takes you about 45 seconds cone to cone here at Silverstone.
Well, to be fair, sorry, Paul, but everyone I've seen here at the moment is 48 seconds or more, so it just depends on how much fuel they take, I think, now to bring that down.
Yeah, so, Matt Bull, I'm seeing him dropping down the order on my timing screen, and in fact, he's taking a tour back to the pits. He is done for the day. Well, there's been a number of retirements here in this race so far. We've lost Liam Atkins, Simon Neller, Jake Blackhall, Jesse Jones, Nicole Foggy. He's still in the pit lane. He is out of this one. Michael Evdoka's out. Wow, Jason Hodgson we've got back in the pits with Matt Bunn as well that we just saw then. Josh Thompson is out as well. Here's a replay. Oh, wow. That's never going to make it around that corner, Matt. No. That's a bit brave, is that?
He saw Jonathan do it and thought, hold my beer, watch this. But, yeah, maybe a bit of a sympathy accident there, I'm afraid, from Bunny. But, yeah, that was a mighty off, and I know that he would have, but I really sincerely hope he would have let go of his direct drive wheel by that point, because we all know how nasty that could have been. But this race has been a bit attritional so far. We've lost a number of drivers, 8 in fact, from the very start. But look at this now, Paolo Munoz with Ross McFarlane. Ross just getting ahead, actually. Doing a smashing job in this race is Ross. He really does thrive in these longer races, doesn't he, Paul? A bit of a wiggle there, actually, just to say thank you.
Yeah, he loves these longer races, doesn't he? It's one of those that just really suits him. As look at that, right onto the back of Woodhouse. Now, if McFarlane could get past Woodhouse pretty quickly here, he can really make hay while the sun shines. And thankfully for the drivers, the sun is shining here. Clear blue skies, 38-degree track temperatures. The tyre temperature is going to be an issue. But there goes Nick McFarlane to the inside of Copse Corner, and he's up to second place. Now Van der Ness battling away with Adam Hedgecock, and Tom Stevens, the Evo SR driver, as well, getting involved in that one. And in fact, Stevens, the AM driver, moving ahead of Van der Ness.
Yeah, Stevens has always been good as well. I mean, I've commentated on Tom before, and he's always been exciting to watch. He seems to be one of those drivers that has a really controlled drive about him, but then when he needs to, he'll just pop out and get a move done. Speaking of doing that, Paolo Munoz has just done exactly that to Mark Woodhouse. Mark just tucks in behind him there, and to be fair, even the Mercedes makes that BMW look small, but that comes into the pits now. Mark Woodhouse thinks, can someone change the front end, please? It's awful. But Paolo Munoz then going up the order.
Says the man who's just bought a BMW.
Yeah, but it's not got that pig ugly front end on it. It's one of the last pretty ones, an E91 estate, and it's beautiful. But, the indicator, it's even got the optional extra of indicators on it. I'm just bewildered. Still couldn't figure out how to use them. But Paolo Munoz now up to third place. Max Wolf, though, still leading this race. He's been an absolute star. Honestly has. I've really enjoyed watching him. Ben Gregory's in the pits with Lars van Rijn, Adam Hedgecock, Mark Woodhouse. Daniele Giudici also in the pits as well. The happiest man in sim racing, as I dubbed him. Now, Tyler's just torturing us here and making us look at the BMW now. Although, actually, we're focused on the number 5 behind him, which is Andrew Archer. 31 places gained. Of course, a bit helped by the pit stops, you could say, but still. what a rise up the order this has been. And he had a nightmare of a first race. I think he had 4 accidents in the first sort of 10 minutes. So he's trying to turn that around now and do the number 5 justice.
So I could tell you that Adam Watson is your leading driver who's been on pit road. He is 15th. He's 32 seconds off of your race leader right now. You can see that on the left-hand side of your screen. That's the gap to the leader on the left-hand side there, as we're on board with Tom Dadswell through Copse Corner. And one of the happiest memories of my life was being stood on the inside of Maggots right there, 1995. Jean Alesi in the damp, the first driver to go through Maggots, absolutely flat out, and did not lift the throttle through there. It was sensational in that V12 Ferrari.
That would have been the 412 T2, wouldn't it? The best sounding F1 car ever made.
But yeah, that is one of my happiest memories of Silverstone, is hearing that car and watching. That is what really captured my imagination as a child for motorsport. Seeing the absolute speed that you could carry through there into Beckett's was unbelievable. And well, we're seeing some unbelievable action out there on track. Tom Dadswell behind David Baker at the moment. So the front of your field is Max Wolf, the AM driver leader, but he's only just in the lead at the moment because he is coming under pressure. Saying that, on your timing screen on the left hand side, you can see that Ross McFarlane has taken to the head of the field. That is crucial for Ross here. He needs to now get the laps of his life in, really pull away, because he wants to try and get that pit stop done and be able to finish out there at the front.
Yeah, I mean, I'm focusing on Adam Watson right now in the sim, and the difference between him and Ross is 31 seconds. So, if anything, well, you're right. This is the move. Wolf doesn't make it too difficult for him. Sensible stuff from Max Wolf. He's thinking championship points here, and he is on the way for a hell of a lot of them. And he'll be very pleased with that. But can we just appreciate the fact that Ross McFarlane has got to the front of the field from 24th on the grid, and he's not even had a pit stop yet either. It's just absolutely... The man is on fire, isn't he?
This is legitimately moving forward to first place as well. This is not looking into anything. Matt Woodhouse having to get on the brakes there. He's been fresh out the pits. He's got Ross Nicholson and Matt Turnbull in front of him. And in fact, he's now just slowly dropping away. He tried his best up at the front, did Mark. And he tried hanging on as long as he could. But that BMW, we've been saying it all evening, does not seem to suit Silverstone here today. I think the Team Mad driver might be wishing that he'd been in a different vehicle. Look at that move! Round the outside for Turnbull into Beckett. Brilliant stuff there. And that was on Ross Nicholson. Tom Stevens is onto pit road, the AM driver. So he's the latest of your pit stoppers. Only 12 drivers owe us a pit stop. Make that 11 because Steve McCaffrey is onto pit road as well.
I've just seen that Ash Sutton has jumped to the pit lane and just had a quick look back at what happened. It seemed like he lost the car on the way into Brooklands, managed to save it, but then just pulled over at the side of the road. Maybe the Audi really not working in his favour this evening. And I've seen a few of the drivers just... It's understandable, you know, you can get really frustrated when the car is not on your side, things aren't working, and, you know, Ash had a few incidents before as well, so I think that's just the one that shot the fox, unfortunately. So far from this race, we've lost Ash Sutton, Josh Thompson, Matt Bunn, Jason Hodgson, Michael Avdoka, Nickel Foggy, Jesse Jones, Jake Blackhall, Simon Neller, and Liam Atkins. The important ones there, Michael Avdoka and Nickel Foggy, and to be fair, Josh Thompson as well. You know, he was one of the quickest drivers going into this championship, but Foggy and, of course, Avdoka are right up there in the championship fight. So with Ross Nicholson at the front, this is literal pain for those guys now if they're watching the broadcast. So evening, boys.
I think the Silverstone curse has hit Steve McCaffrey. He's on pit road still, and if my timing screen lights up, which it does, that means he's left his pit box 50 seconds. That's right on a speeding penalty for down pit road. So not being the day for them. But this is a day with a number of drivers retiring here. This is a day for those who maybe are more towards the rear of the field to get themselves a really good result and get themselves some good points.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just because it's an attritional race and somebody's gone off, you know, there's no shame in just surviving the race and scoring some good points out of it. You know, it's every man for himself, really, in a championship like this. So crack on and get the points where you can, boys. Paolo Munoz there just behind Dave Baker, who's employing his invisibility cloak for just a second in third position. He's gained 16 spots in this race. It has been, like, not just to blow so much smoke up Dave's backside, Dr. Baker himself, but it has been fantastic to see Dave back this season and doing so well as well, because, you know, he stepped away from sim racing for quite a while. It's not, as I said before, it's not the easiest thing to just jump back into and crack on with. So Dave's done a wonderful job. He's got some really strong performances out of that car. He may disagree and say he's not on complete form, but I mean, at the end of the day, he's been able to finish in 6th place here and there, so I'd say he's on form. But yeah, it's great to see Dave back out there. A real top bloke, and some strong performances as well. Speaking of those strong performances, Tom Dadswell, the Pro-Am, having a go at Paolo Munoz here in the Mercedes. The pesky little Audi down the inside. It's like a fly trying to bite at a horse, isn't it, really? The little Audi having a go at the big chunky Mercedes with its 6.3 litre V8. Great noise from that Merc as well, though. Honestly, sounds just like a good old Merlin engine with a bit more sort of dry thrust about it. But this is great from Dadswell.
I was going to say, you were saying about it's like a fly at a horse. Well, don't get bit by a horsefly. That thing hurts.
Oh, God, yeah, I got one on the leg last year. No, thank you.
But, yeah, he's certainly... Tom Dadswell, he's really done a good season. He's really given the Altitude Esports team a really good boost being up there. He's always up there, sort of in and around that top 10. And he's really performed excellently as the Pro-Am driver. Chris Van der Nest currently in 6th place as well. I can tell you, Adam Watson, 10th place right now. He's the first of your pit stoppers, and he is still 32.8 seconds behind your race leader. So that gap's not really pulling away that much, so Watson is giving it absolutely everything. Of course, with this pit lane here, yes, it might be 45 seconds to cone, but you are cutting a bit of the track there in this pit lane. Yeah,
it's very true. You do see people pop up the timing, and you sort of think, oh, well, that helps, but at the same time, you know, it doesn't really count for much. But I suppose when you've got that chicane to deal with on the outside on the way in, you know, you can see it as a bit of a time saver. It's not so harsh on you as Munoz goes deep into the right-hander at Village. And it's so easy to do that with the weight transfer of the car going from right to left when you go through Abbey and then Farm on the brakes into Village. It's not the easiest place to get the car stopped. Here's Adam Hedgecock, good mate of ours, 24th place at the moment with Brian Loynes. You know it's Brian with the unmistakable bright yellow wheels that he runs in every series. Trying to sneak around the outside is Adam with the, obviously, the stealth camo. Just leaves enough room for Brian, but nice stuff from Adam there. And Hedgecock's another one, isn't he, Paul? We've both raced against him for a long time. I always find that you can just have really close racing with Adam, and he's such a top bloke.
He's a fair driver.
Yes,
he is somebody who will race you hard, but he'll race you fair. And that's what I've found whenever I have raced against him in series here and there. So definitely Adam... Yeah, he'll fight you. Don't get it wrong. He will fight you.
He's mugged me plenty of times. Absolutely mugged me off.
He is fair with it, that's for sure. Ross McFarlane still your race leader ahead of David Baker and Max Wolf. So David Baker's been able to get all of the AM driver Max Wolf. And this is a battle between one of your 3M drivers. And it's going to be, well, it's Andy Archer then, and... Matt Turnbull. There we go. I finally found him on the time screen. 11th place, Matt Turnbull, and he's made his way past the AM driver in the Ferrari. Not that many Ferraris out there on field, so not the favoured car. Mainly it's Audis and Lamborghinis, as there's a nice shot of the crowd, and that's the reason why, because there's a gaggle of cars right there headed up by 87, which of course is Chris Wood, Alex Neller and Matthew Doyle. So that's 2 pros and an AM. Chris Byram's onto pit road from 7th place. Some more pit stops coming. We should be heading towards the end of the pit stop cycle in the next 10 minutes or so. And I can tell you, further round on track, Paul Webster has had a major issue, and he is right across the chicane at Vale. In fact, I don't know if he's actually got going yet.
Yeah, it says to me he's still doing 0. Oh, he's actually started moving now. Just now he's got going again. You could just see him on the edge of the shot there as these guys came into the chicane. Neller goes a little bit deep there. Wood tries to spot an opportunity. Can't see one yet. Matthew Doyle just behind as well. Here is what happened to Webster then, Paul.
And the question is, that Audi, did it help it? Yes, it did.
Did it?
And is that now, the question is, was that Adam Watson? It was.
It was a little bit. Oh wow! Archer
yeah, like I say, see about he's trying to get going, but the cars keep on coming. It's a case of, well, where do I go?
Yeah, that's the thing, because some people, you'd think they would go around the outside there to carry the momentum a bit, but it'd maybe put you on a bit of a back foot for the right-hander. It was a bit. I mean, he wasn't on the brakes the entire time it rolled back around, so he sort of put himself in that place, you could say. But either way, good to not get hit by anyone. Down the inside goes Doyle. Oh, is he going to be able to hang it around Luffield? I don't think Wood's going to...
We've seen this before. You can get on the power earlier on the exit of Luffield.
Oh, McFarlane in the pits.
Yeah, McFarlane race leader on pit road. So too is David Baker. Tom Dadswell once again staying out on the track, so he's able to go a lap longer at least. Oh, it's a pit party because we've got Max Wolf, Paulo Munoz, Chris van der Ness, Jonathan Walker's coming onto pit road as well.
It's literally just Dadswell, the only car that has now not pitted in this race. Although actually no, Andrew Archer and Paul Webster.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here's Watson, and well, I think we're going to get the answer very quickly indeed, because there's Ross McFarlane on the right-hand side of your screen. He's coming out of pit road now. He's going to see that cone, and away he goes. I mean, Watson's not even in Abbey right now, so it's going to be a good 5 seconds or so between the two of them. And yeah, that is Ross McFarlane effectively in the lead of this race.
Epic stuff. Absolutely. That's just so Ross McFarlane, just doing what he needs to do. He obviously had a shorter pit stop as well, 2 seconds shorter than Adam Watson, although actually he was only 0.6 quicker from cone to cone in the pit lane. 49.1 for McFarlane, 49.7 for Watson. So the pit stop helped him get that advantage, clearly, but it wasn't that much overall, really, if you think about it. So it was just the downright pace on circuit that's helped Ross McFarlane there. Of course, he was at the front. No dirty air to worry about from cars in front. No overtaking any traffic. And we saw Watson get into the back of Webster. So it was all piled against Adam in that situation there. The gap between them is 4 seconds. Dadswell still needs to come in. And we've had Archer and also Webster. Yep, he's coming as well. So a few battles still going on out there as we see this one. Matthew Doyle on the back of Chris Wood with Brian Loynes just in there as well. But Ross McFarlane, what a superstar once again this evening. And this is the perfect time to do it as well, Paul, because Foggy and Avdoka are out of the race. Yeah,
that's what you get. Van der Ness now under pressure from Mike Horder. Horder's putting the pressure on him. And behind them, don't forget as well, is Tom Stevens and Pete Harrod. Pete Harrod's up 14 positions as Tom Dadswell onto pit road. So we are going to get what the running order is in just about half a minute's time. See how things stand as Dadswell comes to a stop, gets his pit stop out the way with 9 minutes remaining here in this feature event in the World GT Championship by Freem. And well, what a race it has been here on RaceSpotTV. This has been sensational stuff, action-packed, a little bit chaotic at the start, but overall, once they got that out of their system, it's been really, really good racing. And I can tell you that Tom Dadswell has come out the pits right in front of Paulo Munoz. So 5th place for him. So here's your standings then as they are. You can see them on the side there. The top 3 in your Pro is Ross McFarlane, Adam Watson and David Baker. In your Pro-Am, Tom Dadswell, 5th place overall. Ross Nicholson, 8th place overall. And Mark Woodhouse, 10th place overall in your standings. Your Am drivers, Max Wolf, what a race he's been having. Sensation from him in 7th place. Your next Am driver is Tom Stevens in 13th. And then after that, it's down to Brian Loynes down in 20th.
Yeah, it's been there's quite the spread here, to be fair. It's been... Usually we do see a bit of spread, but I think here, you know, the individual classes, especially the AMs, has really been spread out here. But it's great stuff for Max Wolf, and like I said before, on multiple occasions over the course of this race, he's just been awesome to watch. This is Pete Harrod just going past the number 89 there of Tom Stevens in the Evo SR green Lambo. And you're speaking of green, Seb Hawkins right behind them. Ben Gregory in there as well in the boosted Jericho Lamborghini. But Harrod also just on a bit of a charge here, Paul. 15 places gained, but when you're looking at places gained, the top 5, McFarlane's gained 23, Watson's gained 18, Baker's gained 16, Turnbull 19, and Dadswell 13. Those top 5 are very deserved of this result if it stays that way.
They certainly are. Worth pointing out, Alex Neller as well, up to 18th place, plus 17 positions in that field. Simon Field, I'm going to point him out as well in your top 10. 21 positions gained in this race. It's been tremendous stuff. I mean, you then say the flip of the coin, though. Chris Byram down 26 positions. It's not been a good race for him. Matt Fletcher trying to make a bit of a recovery here. He's now gained 1 position in this race in 20th place ahead of Brian Loynes, who's now 21st. So action all the way through the field, but it is Ross McFarlane who leads this one by 5.4 seconds ahead of Adam Watson. David Baker, great to see David up there in 3rd place. He's got a bit of company from Matt Turnbull. And then look at this battle we've got here. 15th, Pete Harrod. 16th, Tom Stevens. 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th. I'll get them read correctly because it's Seb Hawkins and Ben Gregory. Gregory's looking there. It's not quite moving yet, though.
Looks like he's definitely got the pace of Seb Hawkins on a lot of the circuit, but like you say, nothing doing yet. He just needs to set it up right. He just keeps trying to get a better exit, but Seb just seems to be able to put the power down in all of the right places and get away a little bit here and there. We've got, well, 5.5 minutes left to this race to go. Paul has got 20 minutes of his stream left to go. The wonderful second of 2 12-hour streams in 2 days. So hats off to you, Paul, for obviously a wonderful cause. But, oh, flipping out. Ben Gregory nearly made a bit of a wonderful cause in the back of Seb Hawkins' car there. That really caught me off guard, but he's going to get a good run here. The only thing is, I've mentioned this before, you don't want to start slipstreaming on a long straight like this from right behind the car in front. You don't get as much of a slingshot as you go past it, not as much of an overspeed. So Ben, even though, you know, he was well in the slipstream, he doesn't actually get that much of a run there. So very interesting. Thought he might have overdone it.
I've just seen fastest lap of the race has just been set by Ross McFarlane at 2 minutes 0.4. The man in 2nd place, Adam Watson, just did a 2 minutes 1.3. To
be fair to Turnbull, he did a 2 minutes 0.5 as well behind Baker, so he's really, really launching that car around. Baker did a 2 minutes 0.9, so he's not too bad, but of course Turnbull, we've seen him get better and better all season. I mean, he started just suddenly turning up, didn't he? Matt Turnbull. And since then, he's just been a star. These two teammates as well, not just at Pure Sims, but Pure Sims 3M. They're two glorious-looking Lamborghinis. That livery does look outstanding, especially with the sort of chrome, green and red. The wonderful chrome strikes in there as well. Whoever designed that did a wonderful job. I think it's one of Jake Blackwell's.
They're catching Adam Watson as well.
They are definitely Adaming Watson catch out. They really,
well,
really
I'm tired,
quickly.
Okay, let's stop poking fun at me.
I have to take the chance.
But 3 minutes 50 remaining of this race. These two right now, Baker will be on the radio or Discord or whatever they're using, Brick 10-4, to say, Matt Turnbull, you stay behind, let's work together, and let's get the both of us on the podium here.
Yeah, they really do need to work together here. They've got very different agendas by the look of it. I mean, you can see the different lines that they're taking, and that in itself is an indication as to how hard they're pushing. Now, I'm wondering whether Baker's going to move over here and let Turnbull go. He thinks, you're the quicker of the two of us. You open that door and you go for it. Maybe Turnbull's higher up in the championship as well, of course. He's within the top 5 from what I remember going into this race meeting. He was 4th going into this meeting. So Dave playing the long game here for Turnbull, and you can already see look at that straight away on the back of him.
I wonder if that's the damage to Watson's car from the contact with Webster, perhaps.
Yeah, that's very true. But Turnbull straight onto it now. And Baker's just going to wait for the door to open here. He's very, very clever with this sort of stuff, is Dave Baker. He's very clever in general, but he's very clever with this sort of stuff. So he's going to definitely just see what Turnbull can do about putting the key in the keyhole, and then as soon as he turns the handle, Dave's just going to walk right through. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, they don't give away doctorates in astrophysics in the box of Kellogg's cornflakes, that's for sure. Other conflicts are available. But Adam Watson then, in that second place, he'll be desperate to hang on to that. And he'll be desperate to try and stay in that place. But look at Turnbull. He's moving about in the mirrors. That's trying to distract Adam Watson here. He's trying to get Watson off guard, cause him to make a mistake. And Turnbull, well, he's looking to pounce here as they come out of Luffield. Once again, this is a penultimate time that they'll do that, because when they cross the start and finish line after club, next time around, it'll be the white flag, and it'll be 1 lap remaining. So time is running out for Turnbull. Watson, he'll be begging for that clock to somehow miraculously find itself at 0 by the end of this straight.
Yeah, he said, I know the clocks went forward on Sunday, but if they could do it by another minute and a half, that would be absolutely fantastic, please. One thing I want to point out about Lamborghini iRacing that annoyed me a little bit is the fact that these cars don't have the digital dash on the front, on the windscreen, that shows what position they're in. It physically has one modelled in the car, but it doesn't work. So I'm not sure whether that's just iRacing not doing it or not bothering, but yeah, it doesn't work on the Lamborghini, which really upsets me.
They'll bother, that's for sure. Don't you worry about that. But lap traffic getting out the way of these. They didn't fancy getting involved in this one, did the Boosted car. No. So Lee Berridge was thinking, yeah, I'm thinking better of that and staying out of that. I can tell you further down your order, Adam Hedgecock has moved forward past Chris Wood. So even more, though, there's a BMW. That's going to be Woodhouse with Van der Ness. Matt Woodhouse and Van der Ness. And behind them, Mike Horder's trying to get involved in that one as well. So we've got chopping and changing throughout the field. Look at that, a little bit of a hip check. One more, perhaps, for good measure. They're almost ended up in the wall there between the 3 of them. That battle is exciting, but the battle for second place, I can tell you, is heating up as well. I can see that on another screen here, but Van der Ness has made it past, so he's made that position. Watson now looking to hold that inside line into Brooklands. Turnbull, he can make that outside line work if you're patient with it. You can make it work. It'll give you the inside for Luffield. Not quite happening here yet. So time strikes 0 on the clock. This is the final lap then. Watson using every inch of the road then, and then some. Turnbull across the curb a bit more than Watson. He's looking to cops. He can make that move. Look for the cutback here. Watson is compromised with his line. Turnbull with a brilliant run out the corner. Here we go into Maggots. They're going to go side by side into Beckett's now. Watson's still there with him. They're still there. Now Turnbull's had an issue with the internet. He's back, and Watson manages to stay ahead for the time being. But it's the hanger straight for the final time. What can Turnbull do? What can Baker do here as well? Because Baker's now looking to this one. We're going to go too wide into Stir. Will they be able to get through cleanly? I can tell you your race leader for the second time is Ross McFarlane, and he's not going to get on screen. Once again, a little bit of contact between the 2 of them for second place. Turnbull, there's McFarlane across the line. Adam Watson to the inside of club. Can he hang on to it? Turnbull, he's got the outside line, he's got the overlap, and he's got second place.
That's
Same
twice.
Sensational stuff there across the line. Adam Watson in third ahead of David Baker. Brilliant racing between the two of them then. Further down your field, we're seeing this battle. There's the 89 car of Tom Stevens at the back of it. Van der Ness beats Woodhouse. You've got Chris Wood and Lars van Rijn battling it out down in 23rd and 24th place. But my goodness, Chaz, what a sensational end to the race there.
That's the second time tonight Matt Turnbull has made it work around the last corner to get second place. What a lad. That was unbelievable stuff. Absolutely unbelievable. Fantastic commitment. Great racing all the same. And to be fair, I was expecting Watson to definitely turn the bull there for a second. That Lambo was going to be facing backwards, but really good respect. I bet Baker was laughing his head off through all of that. Either that or intensely focusing, because he got one hell of a show. But Ross McFarlane, 2 wins out of 2 tonight from 24th on the grid, really shows everybody how it's done. And we have once again, Paul, I mean, you've been streaming for nearly 24 hours in the last 2 days, but even now I am sweating buckets. That has been an intense evening's racing.
That was sensational. We're waiting on Paul Webster coming across the line, but here is your results then up on screen. Webster does finish now. So it's McFarlane who wins this one. We barely showed him in that last 10 minutes there because the battle was for second place. Matt Turnbull, look at that gap, less than 0.2 of a second between him and Adam Watson for third place. David Baker, he'll be gutted with that because he's only just in 4th place, less than 100th between him and Watson across the line. And Tom Dadswell, he was sniffing around in that one as well. We didn't even notice him there in the Altitude Esports car. He finishes 5th place. He's your top Pro-Am driver in all of that. Paulo Munoz in 6th place then for the Pure Sims by CSS car. Max Wolf, your top amateur driver after leading part of this race, ends up in 7th place. Ross Nicholson is the 2nd place of your Pro-Am drivers ahead of Simon Field. Brilliant drive from Simon, up 21 positions for him in 9th place, with Chris Van der Ness in 10th place. 11th for Mark Woodhouse ahead of Mike Horder. Pete Harrod is then ahead of your 2nd place AM driver in Tom Stevens. So Evo SR 1-2 in the AM drivers here today. Ben Gregory and Alex Nella with Matt Fletcher. And then Jonathan Walker and Matthew Doyle, the last of the podium on the AM drivers. And Brian Lyons, Flying Brian, in 20th place. 21st for Seb Hawkins then, who just could not make the moves forward, ahead of Adam Hedgecock, with Chris Wood, Lars van Rijn and Michael Blake in 25th place. Lewis Archer and Sean Gardner 26th, 27th ahead of Andrew Archer in 28th. Daniel Giuducci in 29th. And 30th place is Chris Byram. I don't know if we've lost the... Oh, there we go. It's caught up with us there. As we flick over to the next page as well, because Jason Rowe then in 31st ahead of Paul Webster, who only just finished ahead of... Well, it says Lee Berridge there. I could tell you actually James Whitehouse did actually drop down to 33rd in the end. So those standings updated right now. Lee Berridge 34th ahead of Steve McCaffrey, with Morgan Butler and Ash Sutton down there. Multiple laps down. Matt Bunn as well. Josh Thompson, Jason Hodgson, Nicole Foggy and Michael Avdoka are the 2 big ones in the championship standings. Fortunately, they do get drop weeks here in terms of points. Jesse Jones, Jake Blackall, Liam Atkins and Simon Nella did also not finish that race. But we could go straight into the interviews, because Chaz, you've got the race winner, Ross McFarlane, who we barely saw on screen all the way through that.
Yes, indeed. Well, Ross, not the most airtime in the world this evening, but mate, you were just on another level this evening. We have been obviously praising you a lot for your pace in this championship, but I mean, not only was that first race a fantastic win, but that second one's important, isn't it, for you, with Foggy and Avdoka not finishing?
Yeah, the second race was a bit confusing because everybody seemed to just peel away at the start, and I was kind of left with a pretty simple race in the end. Although I didn't think it was going to be so simple, because I think Watson and and Turnbull pitted quite early, so I didn't know where they were going to come out. But yeah, with Nickel spinning, unfortunately, Mark spinning, Mike spinning, it's kind of left the door a little bit open. So I might be down on drop score, but at least I have a little tiny points buffer now, so I can I can work with that.
Yeah, definitely. It was a very theoretical parting of the season, that situation, wasn't it, really, with all the other competitors around you. Now, obviously, you had a fantastic amount of pace all the way through the race as well. Did you think that coming out at the right point on the circuit was going to be an issue for you, or did you know that you had it pretty wrapped up and you'd be a few seconds clear?
I knew that I would be near the guys. I just didn't know how much I was going to get held up by the traffic ahead.
Yeah.
I got into about maybe 9th position, and I thought, this is going to be tough. But it actually ended up being fairly smooth through the traffic. And then once I got into 2nd and 3rd, I thought, okay, I can break a gap now. I couldn't see the lap times that Turnbull and Watson were doing, so I wasn't sure. But I knew that from the previous race, I had a rough estimate of where I'd be. But yeah, came out ahead and just had to try and maintain the gap. I did go for fastest lap as well. I know every point counts, so I think I managed to steal that too. But no, it was a rewarding race, if not super hard. But yeah, I'll take it.
It looks like you did get fastest lap as well, actually. So hats off to you for that one. A mega drive, mate, all the way around. Now, Paul and I were talking earlier about obviously dirty air. Now, we know that these cars aren't the most aerodynamically dependent in the world, but they still have quite the effect from that. Did you find that with this circuit having a high average speed, that dirty air was a problem when you were making your way through?
It wasn't so much the dirty air. I think when you've got maybe a group of cars that are running very, very similar pace and similar aerodynamic setup, it can be a big influence. I think there was a lot of disparity between some of the drivers. I think people were maybe banking on being able to overtake on the straights and be in the pack. Other drivers maybe plowing on the aerodynamics and just trying to get that corner speed. I definitely found myself in that that mid pack at the start of the race, catching people in the corner incredibly quickly. So there's that slight aero wash, there's that slight indecision about, how fast they're going to take the corner, and it can be very dangerous. I'm sure there was a few incidents caused by that, but luckily managed to avoid those.
Well, yeah, it certainly worked out for you in the end, mate. It was a wonderful controlled drive again. Perfect evening for your championship, and hopefully we see more of that from you in the future, mate. But for now, great to speak to you as ever, Ross. Well done again from us tonight. That was great to watch, mate, and we'll see you we'll see you next week, and then, of course, after that, another break for a bit.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Cracking stuff there, Ross McFarlane, double race winner tonight. It's not often that people are going to pull that off, is it, Paul?
No, certainly not. And yeah, that was sensational from Ross. But another driver who had a bit of mixed fortunes out there, Ben Gregory, finishing in 15th, down one place on the race. I mean, Ben, well, talk us through your evening, because we saw what happened down at turn 1, unfortunately. Was that just a case of missing your braking point, or just not having the brakes that you expected?
Yeah, a little bit of missing the braking point. I think it's because I had Pete on my left and I was trying to make a move. Jake comes across a little bit earlier than I expected, but it's fully on me. I feel so bad. I cannot say sorry enough. Because it's not the first time I've hit Jake over many seasons. But yeah.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the rest of the race, though, because you were able to be in and around battle packs. I mean, how was the Lamborghini out there tonight? Because some drivers seem to love it, and some just seem to be a little bit on edge.
Honestly, this is probably the best track I've driven in this car. It was so good. Little bit of slip in some of the corners, but it felt so good, especially coming up against some of the slower cars with the higher speed corners. I actually had to fully back out on some of the Mercedes. It was crazy.
Yeah, so of course we're heading towards the 2/3 point of the season next week. Road America, another high speed, well, I say high speed, but a lot of long straights there. Is that something that you're sort of thinking we can do well in this Lamborghini, or are you looking more towards Spa and Daytona?
I hope so. Like, the Lamborghini's good on the brakes at least usually, so especially considering some of the faster, like the Beamers and the Mercs that will destroy us on the straights. But hopefully we'll do all right. There's a lot of quite heavy braking zones at Road America, so it should be fun to see how it mixes up.
Right, well, all the best for next week though, Ben, and well done on getting a 15th place in the end.
Yeah, cheers.
There we go, that's Ben Gregory there, Chaz, and I mean, we get our breath back now, Chaz, because that was a great evening's racing there.
Yeah, that was just phenomenal again. This format just... I mean, we had the first chance, you know, where we were at Interlagos. We thought this will be a really good combo. You know, we're intrigued to see how this works. And then we had an absolute belter. And then you've got that little bit in the back of your head that goes, will it be that good every time, though? You know, is this just sort of love at first sight? Are we a bit blinded with the rose-tinted glasses? But I honestly think that this format is one of the best things this championship has done. You know, you could say, oh, why haven't they not done this for 9 seasons? It's the sort of thing you didn't know that you needed, and now we've got it, and it's just epic stuff. It gives us some, what I would call proper GT racing, because, you know, while the World GT Championship has its own identity, and it had it for a very long time with just having 3 20-minute sprint races, touring car style, over the course of one evening, they then expanded to, you know, do it as it is done more often in the real world. You know, GT3 cars barely ever race for less than an hour at a time. They then went with a big endurance race that was an hour and a half. That's now an hour and 45 to give it a bigger buffer for these 2 40-minute races that we get here on nights like this. And, well, I am honestly loving this format. We've got another visit to this format again before the season's end as well, so I cannot wait for that one. It's just great, really great.
Yeah, absolutely, and I did touch on it. We'll go to Road America next week. Of course, you're not going to be here next week. You're swanning off places, you know, forgetting your roots. You know, you're going to get too big and forget the little people that have helped you this way. But no, but Road America though, you've raced there in this series. There you go. There's the schedule up on screen. But Road America, you've raced there in this series. I mean, these cars, they swallow that place up.
Oh yeah, they thrive there. It's fantastic, and there's so many slipstreaming opportunities as well. You know, there's so many opportunities just for a little dive bomb here and there as well. You know, late braking maneuvers. We've got the 2 big straights early on in the lap, and then of course you've got things like the left-hander over the crest of the hill. It's just it catches people out lap after lap, and there will be a lot of incidents there. Don't get me wrong, but it's just going to be so much fun, and I am honestly gutted that I will not be there. But unfortunately, I'll be in the south of France commentating on Renault Clios in the first meeting in the Clio Cup Europe. But either way, it's a very exciting venture, and I'm just gutted that I can't be a part of it. But either way, you know, it's all career progression, I'm afraid, and unfortunately, I've got to take that. But I'm very excited to see what comes of it, and of course, I'll watch the broadcast while I'm away. It'll be on in the evening, so I'll be happily there, sat in the hotel watching away. So I'll maybe be in the chat as well.
Well, I'll be here next week holding the fort, so that's for sure. But yeah, that is going to be the end of the action here. Don't forget, there's plenty more racing coming up on RaceSpotTV, so make sure you do subscribe to the channel and all our social media as well, on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well. We're on Twitch as well, so make sure you check us out on there and make sure you follow us on that channel. But it's been the end of a very long time for me, that's for sure. But
hats off, Paul. Hats off.
It's been a great event, and yeah, this championship, it keeps on thriving, it keeps on getting better. Right, next week, Road America, what can you bring? 3 sprint races, that's what you can bring. Until next time, goodbye.